you need to listen to some of this every day, because you can't, if you're on an island on your own, you're going to succumb to all the people telling you you're a nut job.
How did you find the carnivore diet?
Um, well, it's kind of a long road. I'm 63 years old. This started in my earliest 30s, as I was one of those young kids, small statured, skinny, could eat whatever we wanted to eat and never gained an ounce. And as I approached my 30s, that just wasn't working out anymore. I started getting a gut, started getting just all the symptoms of gaining weight. But it was a very gradual thing. Waistline increasing, having to buy new clothes, that kind of thing. And this would have been in the early 90s. And I happened upon Dr. Atkins' book, it was so long ago, I forget the name of the book, but it was,
This New Diet Revolution.
Yes, there it is. Right. And for me, he was the one who really got the basic concept of the role that carbohydrates play in health and weight reduction in general. And I read through that, and I actually started on a keto diet at that point in time in the early 90s. And I had success with it. But knowing what I know now, I didn't have all the information I really needed to be successful with it. I had difficulty in having a regular lifestyle of changing the way I eat and my food habits. A lot of treats, a lot of cheat days, a lot of things like that. Eventually, like many others, I basically fell off the wagon and gained all that weight back even more. And then just kind of stayed in that state for the next 20 years or so, and just got fatter and sicker, and it was such a gradual process that I didn't really appreciate how terrible I really felt. I mean, all my weight gain showed up right in my belly. I just had a great big hard belly. You could tap it, it would thud like a melon. And the grandkids would, tease me, when I'm having my baby and things like that. So, it was, those were and you laugh it off and whatever. And all the problems I had, the psoriasis I had, the nasal congestion, the allergies, the knee pain, the plantar fasciitis, the foot pain when I first got out of bed, the low back pain, I'm just getting old. That's just the process of getting old. And you tend to try to justify everything as being a normal process. And I lived like that for a lot of years. And fast forward to 2019, and my youngest son is getting married, and it was a great wedding, had a wonderful time. Going back and looking at the pictures, all I could see was how terribly fat I was and overweight. And, I'm dressed nicely, but I just still looked just terribly fat. And I'm a small framed guy. I'm 5'7", and I was well over 206 pounds. At 206 pounds, I just stopped weighing myself. I stopped becoming curious about my weight anymore. And there were several months where I just didn't weigh myself. At the wedding as well, I had a couple relatives that showed up that were on the keto diet and hadn't seen them in probably a year or so. and they looked fantastic, and they told me what they were doing. And since I had experience with keto before, it just really made an impression on me. And it was that next month they got married the end of September, the beginning of October 2019. As I'm going on the keto diet, and I don't want to live like this anymore. So I got on it. I had the one advantage I had in this round was the fact that YouTube was available, and there's just so much information. You, Dave, are a big influencer, and you know all the others. Dr. Barry was a big one for me, and Dr. Chafee, and many others. But even today, I still go on YouTube just to make sure that I'm not losing my sanity. I'm not the only person that's crazy in this world that's eating this way. And there's always a nugget of information that I pick up that I didn't know before. So it's an invaluable tool, and I continue to use it. And it helps me stay motivated, especially for those who are doing this and then there's no one in their immediate life that is choosing this lifestyle. And so I just went into it, into YouTube, and I stay with it every day. I try to at least look at something that reinforces what I'm doing. But today, I mean, the psoriasis that I had that I thought was just, there's nothing you can do about it. I used to have these patches on my knees and on my elbows. And I remember being at dinner with people, and I'd be scratching at my elbow with short sleeves on. And I look down at the table and there's a pile of white powder. I know it kind of sounds gross, but my skin was terrible. And maybe no one else noticed, but it was just, oh my God, what am I doing? And it's gone. My skin tags are gone. My knee patches, my elbow patches, my nasal congestion, which was a debilitating issue. I don't know if you've ever tried to eat a meal with your nose completely stuffed, completely closed. It's not a fun situation. But I grew up like that. I had allergies as a child, and I was allergic to wheat and grasses and things like that, and got weekly allergy shots. And but I continued to eat bread and and do all the things that normal kids back in the 70s ate back then. So I continued to suffer. And as I continued with carnivore and learning more and more as I went along, your skill set develops, and you just get better at it. And there's certain milestones you hit, certain experiences that you remember that say, yeah, I've made it to the next level. As far as my relationship with hunger, things like that. I remember, for instance, it was about 2 years ago, there was a local concert. It was just a little cover band at a local park, not a big deal. But my son and the grandkids, my oldest son and the grandkids were going to this. And so, it was in the evening after work. So yeah, we'll go, like to mostly see the grandkids, not the band, but it was in the park, and there's going to be all these food trucks and all these things going on. And, I said, yeah, so my wife and I, we skipped dinner, and, we went there, and it went a little long. And I felt a little bit hungry, and I just saw all these people in these, lined up at these food trucks to get, the whatever they were serving. But and I was a little hungry. I hadn't eaten since earlier in the day, but maybe it was on a scale of 1 to 10, maybe it was at about a 4. But there was no way. I know if it would have been 3 years ago, I would have been fighting to get to the front of the line because I have to have something to eat, or else I'm gonna just have a miserable time and you start to get nervous and panic. it was just no big deal anymore. And I'm looking around, and I swear every other person in this food line was obese or at least overweight. And I'm just thinking to myself, okay, this is what food freedom is. This is for me. I can wait an hour or two. It's not a big deal. I'm not panicked. I'm not uncomfortable. And it just, it was just one little milestone that kind of set, you know, set in my mind that I made it to a certain level here. And I wasn't intentionally trying to make myself hungry. I try to avoid hunger, like most animals, you try to avoid being hungry. I'm at a weight where I need to be now. I've had my stalls, and we can talk about those, but I started eliminating certain things. I was a big bulletproof coffee guy, with the MCT oil and the butter and artificial sweetener. And I'd have 3 or 4 cups of that in the morning. And I started at over 206 pounds. I was down to 160 pounds. So I lost my belly. I was feeling great. I was probably 90% of the way that I thought I could be. And finally, I just leveled off at 160 for months, probably 5 or 6 months. I was just at 160 pounds. And I stopped drinking, and I didn't really have a drinking. I was a social drinker, pretty much on the weekends, that kind of thing. And it wasn't that I made an effort, say, if I want to be successful, I have to stop drinking. I just kind of lost interest in drinking. It just wasn't, it didn't add value anymore, and we do entertain a lot. So I was a little anxious about how I might be in a social situation with drinking. It was just super easy, so a lot of it was the thought of stopping to drink. Now I don't miss it at all. I mean, I used to be a beer connoisseur. I brewed my own beer. My wife still enjoys beer and that kind of thing. So, but I don't miss it at all. And then, when I stopped the drinking, soon after that, it was the bulletproof coffee, and then soon after that, it was the diet sodas, because, and again, with each one of those steps, there was a little anxiety before. It's like, can I really do this? Am I going to, screw things up, or am I going to look weird just ordering water with a meal, and that kind of thing. So, but now I'm just so used to it. And as soon as I stopped the bulletproof coffee and the diet sodas, more weight started coming off. And I wasn't really trying to lose weight. It was just, I was getting to a place where I think my body naturally would want to be. And, I went from squeezing into 36 waist pants, because I'm getting older and that's what I should be doing, and now, I was down to 30s, to 30 waist pants. Now, back in my high school years, I was in 28, 29, 30, depending on the brand. But now all my 30 waist pants are puckering up on me. I can't tighten the belt because it looks like a parachute on me, So, I have to start, now I'm wearing 20, I'm sometimes buying clothes, in the young boys section, it's just, but I feel good. I hate wearing clothes that are too big for me. I'm sure you've had similar experiences where you have to go through a whole phase of, clearing out your wardrobe because nothing fits you anymore. But I've gone through 3 or 4 stages of that. Gets a little tiresome for my wife, and myself, it's like, you don't want to buy new clothes all the time, but, I'm going in the right direction. So I'm happy. I think I pretty much leveled out. I'm down to from 206 or over, because I stopped weighing myself, down to 138 now. And yeah, and if sometimes I forget to hydrate as much as I should, and that's something I still need to work on, is maintaining my hydration. But I get down to 136. I know I need to start drinking a little more water. But my skills have improved around traveling, because that has proven to be a big challenge for me. Going on trips, that kind of thing, ordering out. There's a lot of times I go out to dinner with friends and I just eat before I go. And they ask a few questions, well, why aren't you eating? So I just ate, and it's no big deal. We still have a good time. We visit and we exchange ideas and things like that. And it's just a nice way to work with your friends, socialize with your friends, and not be pressured into eating just all the crap that's out there. It's just terrible.
I think you summed it up very well with this is what food freedom is.
Yeah.
And that says it very nicely, right?
Yeah, it really hit me. And I guess it took a real experience like that. And there's been several similar experiences like that I would go out, and you got to find something to eat. You got to you're always thinking about your next meal. It's like, none of that bothers me anymore. I'm okay with being hungry. Not that it's not my goal to be hungry, but if I'm a little hungry, I'm okay with that. I can wait to go home and cook a nice steak, or a big chuck roast, and have it for the next couple of days. So it's hard to explain to people that aren't on the carnivore lifestyle that it's just something. I will never go back to the way I was eating before. So there's certain milestones that you hit that really impress upon you, that there's, oh yeah, so this is what it's supposed to be. Okay. So, and I'm trying to spread the word. I think you're probably well aware that, these kind of ideas, there's suppression of these ideas, and we got to, normally I probably wouldn't come on and do this kind of interview with you, but I think it's important that we get it out. I'm in the best health of my life. I feel as good as I did in my teen years. I have no aches and pains. I'm on no medication. I'm on no cholesterol medication, no blood pressure medication. I sleep like a rock. I get up early. That's probably my one thing. I'm not a big sleeper-inner. I don't know if that's good, but I'm up at 5:30, 6 o'clock every morning, even on the weekends. Typically, I don't eat breakfast. On the weekends, sometimes I splurge and I have some bacon and eggs for breakfast. Just because I'm hungry. If I'm hungry, I eat. I'm at a point now, I don't try to do OMAD or 2MAD or anything like that. When I'm hungry, I eat. And typically I'm not hungry till around the noon hour. So just works out. It couldn't be a simpler diet, but there's still so much to learn about it. And YouTube is such a valuable tool, with your channel and everyone else's channel, that it's still a valuable tool. I've been doing it a few years now. I don't, and I've just scratched the surface with what I need to know about it. And all I know is that I haven't felt better cognitively, physically since my teenage years. And, being 63 years old, it breaks my heart seeing my friends hobbling and getting fake knees and, suffering from all this stuff, and trying to communicate this to them.
So that is one of the key things that I hear from everyone is that this is the best they've felt that they can remember.
Yeah.
It's certainly the same for me. I don't remember ever feeling as good as I do now. Of course, I'd like to, be getting more sleep and things like that. But despite, the sleep patterns of a 48-year-old father kind of thing, I feel better than ever. Um, so you mentioned your wife. Is she doing this with you?
No, she's not. But she is certainly, I certainly make her well aware of what I'm doing. She watches the videos I watch. She really sees the value in it. Her diet has changed kind of by osmosis, just being with me, being in the same uh, household as I. We're empty nesters. So, it's just her and I. When we go out to eat, basically, we look for, a restaurant or a bar and grill that's going to have beer and it's going to have steak. So I'm going to know, I know where I'm going to eat, and she knows if she's going to have a beer, she can have a beer. So we've had some spirited discussions on where we might eat that evening, that kind of thing. But um, uh, you know, she's had some frustrations with me, and saying, well, we can go there, but there's nothing there for me to eat. I mean, and there's a lot of times I'll just eat before we go, and we still go out, we have a good time, we talk about the day we had or whatever, and enjoy each other's company. And um, even if there's nothing there for me to eat there, because I don't need to eat. I'm not a slave to having to eat, at a sit down restaurant. It doesn't matter to me. Even if I'm a little hungry, it doesn't matter. I don't need to, and I just know how lousy I'll feel. So yeah, so that's the what my wife is. I'm still working in that direction. I think eventually she will, but I think everyone's got to come to it on their own. You can't really force it down someone's throat and do it. I mean, I come from a big family, so I've got a brother and sister-in-law, actually two brothers, two sister-in-laws, and a sister that are either keto or carnivore. And they're all flourishing. Particularly my brother, who as a child had polio and has had a severe limp all his life and has always battled weight issues. And it's been a problem for him all his life. And he, through me and his wife, I guess I influenced my sister-in-law, and they got onto carnivore together. And he's lost like 87 pounds, and he walks with a brace, and it's a pretty significant limp. And he's and every once in a while he just thanks me, about and he wishes, like you've heard a million times, I wish I would have heard about this 20 years ago. And I'm in that boat too. But he thanks me, and he says, I wouldn't be up, I'd be in a wheelchair today if it wasn't for you. And it's probably true, because can you imagine having such a severe disability and walking around with 87 extra pounds that you don't need? And so those kind of things really affect me. And every year we have a Christmas party, a family Christmas party, and talking to this brother of mine, and he had gone to his doctor, and he lives in the northern part of the state. And the doctor was just amazed, because he was on blood pressure medication and all kinds of he's off all his medication now. He's feeling the best he's ever felt. And he and his wife are in the same boat. And the doctor just holds them up as an example to everyone else in her practice, and asks what they're doing and how proud this doctor is of them. And I told him, and I asked him, Len, look how many lives you've touched by this. And he looked right back at me and said, look how many lives you've touched. And I didn't even think of that. And so I was like, yeah, that's why it's so important to get this message out, because I just believe big food and big pharma have no interest in getting this message out. And they're the ones with all the money and all the influence and the presence in Washington and all the other power centers. And there's nothing to sell in this. You don't have, if you're doing all the keto bars and treats and everything, maybe there's a place for that at the very beginning of the journey, but I don't believe it. It just distracted me is what it did. So, but if you're doing this lifestyle the right way, you don't need any of that. And so there's not a lot of money to be made in selling products and things like that. So big food and big pharma is totally disinterested in getting this type of message out. The American Diabetic Association, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but you understand that we're not making any progress there. It's only going to happen by the grassroots, and this is where it starts, doing what you're doing today. That's why I came on.
Yeah, they definitely, unless you can get some kind of IP on a cow so that they can license that cow somehow, then they're not interested.
Yeah, I'm not holding my breath on
that. So you talked about like some of your friends, you'll see they're getting older and they might be hobbling around or something like that. Have any friends approached you and said, look, what have you done? Can I get in on this?
Yes. I guess I'm not very good at articulating. How do you explain what we do, the way we eat, what our lifestyle is in a 5 or 10 minute conversation? When you have to say everything you think you know about human nutrition is a bunch of malarkey. None of it's, everything you've learned about the food pyramid, about any of that is just nonsense. Everything you've learned about fiber is nonsense. It's just, and typically I only have about a 5 or 10 minute window to have someone's attention of what I'm doing. Now, if they're really serious, and I have had some victories, but I have a small group of friends that we go up. We have an outing every year, and we spend time together, and I just see, the deterioration, and they see the way I eat. Of course, they're going to make fun of me, and I'm good with that. They see me, I'll eat some butter once in a while. Some butter's sometimes my favorite snack, and they'll, they just think I live on another planet, and, it's, and in a way I want to yuck it up with them a little bit. I was like, guys, this is going to save your lives. I have one friend whose father passed away with diabetes, and he's going down the same exact road. He's a type 2 diabetic, and I wish I could be more articulate, more persuasive in doing this. These are the people I care about and I love, and I want to help them. But at the same time, like I said earlier, you can't force it on anybody. People are going to choose what they want to do. So, I have another sister that has, an older sister who is having medical issues. And I, just asked them, what would you have to eat for breakfast? Oh, I had a bowl of Cheerios, and then I had some toasted jelly. And I say, okay, well, I want to be sympathetic towards her condition, but on the other hand, what sage advice can I give her to really start her down the path of better health? And how much will she really listen? So those are constant struggles that I have.
I guess also, I mean, you're really fighting an uphill battle when the new food compass is telling us that Cheerios are better for you than eggs or ground beef,
Yeah, I,
you
yeah,
know?
I know, and it's so frustrating. And even on their logo, with I don't know if you have Cheerios over there, but there's a little heart on the logo indicating that this is probably heart healthy. So if you're a layman looking at this logo of this box of refined grain, with where the second ingredient is sugar, um, you're under the impression this is going to reduce your cholesterol, which who knows if that's even worth anything, and it's going to make you healthier. And it's a crime, actually. We've all walked through supermarkets, especially in the United States, where you know 25% of the people are on the little scooters because they can't walk around and the ones that aren't on scooters, half the people are obese, and 80% of the people are overweight. And people think I was born this way. Well, I'm 5'7", small framed. Picture me 70 pounds heavier. It's and I feel great today. I think I'm at a good weight now. I don't think I'm not. I was When I hit 160, I wasn't trying to lose any more weight because I thought that was where my body was taking me. But when I cut out the other crap that I was still clinging on to, my body took me down to the 138, 140 mark. So be it. I'm healthy. I feel great. I look down. I never get tired of looking down and seeing a flat belly. You just never get tired of that.
It's really nice to be able to see your feet without straining over, isn't it?
I remember not being able to tie my shoes. Well, but straining to tie my shoes. I was always able to, but I remember just straining to tie my shoes. It's like, I guess this is just getting old. This is what getting old is. Um, But I got to give credit to Dr. Atkins because he sowed that seed back in the early 90s for me. And I knew the concept was there. I don't think he had all the puzzle pieces of the puzzle put together yet, but his general concept was spot on. And so when keto kind of had a resurgence in the early 2000s and late 90s, and then carnivore, it was just an easy transition, and it made logical sense for me to make that transition.
Yeah, I agree. Atkins needs to get some kind of like posthumous award or something because like he really set the groundwork for people, myself as well. I was much more open to just moving across to carnivore with basically no questions asked because I knew this was what my body was meant to be eating,
Mm-hmm.
because of those foundations that Atkins laid.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, it was a totally foreign concept until I read that book, and it made sense to a degree, but there wasn't enough reinforcement after reading the book and everyone else thinks you're a nut job, so you just go back to the standard American diet and get sicker and sicker throughout your 30s, 40s, and 50s, and then in your late 50s you find this, and I'm in the best health since my teenage years. So no
So
complaints.
this raises an interesting point, I think, what you've just said is the power of groupthink, right? So no matter what happens, right, you're eating something and it's good for your body and your body's responding well for it to it. And this happened exactly the same thing happened to me as well. And your body is responding well to it, but because everyone, the media, your friends, your relatives, they're all saying this is crazy, what you're doing is crazy, Like we go, okay, well, I'm just going to go back to a regular diet. And the whole, you've listened to the TV, the newspapers, your friends, family, whatever, and you're starting to put all the weight back on. But still, because of the power of, kind of following the group, we don't kind of put the pieces together and go, but I was better off the other way.
Mm-hmm.
It's
I
amazing,
agree.
isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I agree. And that's why when I do engage somebody who is seriously taking my information in and considering doing something like this, I always say, get onto YouTube, and I list 4 or 5 people, including you. And I just say, these, you need to listen to some of this every day, because you can't, if you're on an island on your own, you're going to succumb to all the people telling you you're a nut job, or you're listening to people who don't know anything, or how stupid are you to listen to those kind of people. Everyone knows you got to have a lot of fiber and eat your greens and all that. So you gotta, so like my younger sister, is just starting her carnivore journey. She's week 4 in, and I think she's over the worst part of the transition, but in impatient for results. Like probably most people getting started with this, you want to see weight loss and all that. And I just keep telling, look at the non-scale victories. Look at your skin. I'm looking at pictures of you 4 weeks ago. You look 100% better. Don't even weigh yourself for a while. Don't even worry about it. Just keep eating. You say you're feeling better. You feel, your hip pain is gone, and your skin's better. There's just no reason to quit what you're doing. And she's texting me saying, do you ever just get a feeling of well-being after you eat a big steak? And I said, yes, I get that all the time. I'm just afraid to say it because nobody believes me. They think I'm a nut job. So it's, it's exciting to see her starting this and already feeling the results. And I tell her, stay on YouTube. Keep, especially if you're not getting reinforced with a group, get in there and keep getting the information. It's there, it's available. And if you try to do this sitting on an island, it makes it 5 times harder.
Tim, do you have a YouTube or any other social media where people are able to reach out to you?
I don't. No. It's something I've considered. It's another whole skill set to learn, I guess, at my age. I don't know. You know, I know how to write in cursive. That's how old I am. So I'm so old I don't even buy green bananas anymore. But I don't buy I don't buy any bananas. So
um, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your journey. I really appreciate it.
it's been my pleasure. I guess it's up to us to get the word out, and the powers that be aren't going to help.